Alright, so this video here is going to be covering how to read your prospect's mind with a VSL. As you can see, I put a bunch of stuff in this Miro board here, but pretty much the first pillar, and this is going to be the most important one, but it is also the most boring one as well, is the listening and research phase. So there is a bunch of stuff that goes into it. I kind of just wrote down some things here. But the main one is recording calls that you have with your prospects. So looking at their kind of language patterns, the way they speak about it, the questions they have, all of that stuff. You're going to get a bunch of gold nuggets recording all those calls. And then, as I'm going to describe later, you could use this to reverse engineer a very good VSL. And then the second pillar here is hunting for questions. So listening and writing down every single question a prospect asks about your offer, which kind of goes back into this one here. This is the primary reason you should be recording all the calls. And then what you want to do within this process is tally the repeats. So depending on the frequency of how much a question comes up, you want to be putting a tally mark down there, and then seeing the frequency in which that question pops up, which I'm going to get to in a little bit, but this is very important. And then the last one is just literally doing research and doing either manual research or using research tools like ChatGPT, Deep Research, Gemini, Claude, whatever you want to use. And this research one is important even if you have a bunch of calls. But if you do have a bunch of data and calls to work with, you have a lot of prospects to speak with, then it is a lot. You don't have to do as much research, to be honest, because you have your prospects pretty much doing it for you. They're already kind of voicing their pain points, their questions, all that stuff. But if you don't have that much data to work with, you are definitely going to have to lean a lot more into this one here and kind of scrape the internet. And just to kind of dive into this a little bit deeper, what I've noticed with some of the offers that I've worked with is browsing through Reddit is literally a gold mine, because people are very unfiltered there. They will kind of just drop like the raw truth and like exactly what they're thinking, and then use the exact language a prospect would. So Reddit is very good for this, and you could honestly just prompt like ChatGPT, Deep Research, Gemini, Claude, like I mentioned before, to specifically browse through Reddit, and it is capable of doing that. So just put that in your prompt, tell it to browse through Reddit threads that are related to what you're doing research on, and then yeah, you're going to get very good stuff out of that. And this one I already covered. So basically, the less data you have, so the less calls, interactions, etc., the more research you're going to have to do. So yeah, just kind of diving into the second pillar here, it's going to be the organizing phase, where you take all of the questions and the objections and pretty much all the data here and mark it down with the frequency pretty much tallied. And then the process here is you want to have that list of all the questions, objections, all that stuff with the tally marks and the frequency in which they appeared. And then you want to sort the list from the most frequent to the least frequent. So yeah, pretty much it's literally what it sounds like. You sort it from the most frequent to the least frequent, and then from there you want to just output this into a new list, which is whatever you want to call it, the golden order, I don't even care. But this is the main idea. You want to take it into this kind of a format, and then this is going to be the exact sequence of topics that you're going to cover in your VSL. And then, like I kind of wrote here, it is by definition the order of which a prospect needs the information to be supplied to them in a video sales letter, and it's how you're going to lay out your entire sales argument. So now getting into the actual scripting process. In the actual script, you're going to be answering the questions in order. So it's less so a script, and it's more so a series of answers that you provide in video form on a landing page. So the structure of something like this is pretty much going to be a hook. So you need a good hook. Not going to get into that in this video. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that, but this is arguably the most important part, because if you don't get them within the first 30 to 40 seconds, they're most likely just going to bounce off the page. So make sure this is dialed in, and then from there you could pretty much get into literally answering all those questions and objections step by step, from most frequent to least frequently asked. And then from there, the actual sales call, once they book with you, is going to be more of like a checkout call, because all their objections and questions have already been answered, and the sales reps on your team aren't going to have as much objections on the call, and it's just going to be better for everyone. Better for the prospect, it's just a smoother process, and then the sales reps are going to have to answer way less questions, so it smoothens out that entire process. And then obviously at the end of the video, you have a CTA, whether it be to apply, book a call, direct a cart, whatever it may be. So yeah, and the result of all of this here is it feels like you're reading their mind. And the reason behind this is you already did a bunch of research, and you had a bunch of conversations with your prospects, and you already essentially knew their main questions and objections, and you did all that research, and then you compiled it into a list of the most frequently asked, and then you're going down that list essentially step by step in the VSL script. So it literally feels like you're reading their mind and answering all the questions they had about your service before they even have a chance to kind of hop on a call. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. This is a very simple VSL format, and this is not my idea, by the way. I got this from Daniel Fazio. I just kind of broke this down into a quick Loom video explaining how the entire process works. So hopefully some of you found some value from this and maybe learned something. So yeah.